All right, everybody, how are y'all doing today? We got a good one for you. The topic is whatever happened to we the people. I'm Empty Turtle, and this is Dr. David Jubb.
Great to be with everyone today. Yeah, what happened to we the people? Because, you've got prosecutors work for the DA, you've got all sorts of people and in government, and pretty much everybody there has, of course, we the people, yeah?
Yes.
So what does that mean? I mean, of course, it means that something is legitimate, lawful, because it's supposed to, has to come from we the people, right?
Sure, you would think, right? Oh, and by the way, special guest, Savannah, say hello. All right.
Y'all.
All right. And what was that, Dr. John?
It really, you've got a criminal conversion of title, criminal conversion of your title. What does that mean, though? I mean, your title. Is it your title that is the title of your property? Yes.
Or
it flows
our title of ourselves, maybe?
Well, if you've got the title, does that mean you own something?
I don't know, really.
Yeah, I'd say that if you're given the proper title, that's something that you own.
Okay.
But let's say that I give you the title, your title is as a combatant.
Okay.
Behind the scene, because it's code.
Okay.
Because we're looking at your behaviour, and who's we? I mean, that's we the people. We the people looking at your behaviour at a fusion centre because something came up or whatever, and we're looking into your past, and the records show that by you, what you look at, you're always looking at gore and blood. The issue is about some sort of misappropriate type of behaviour or something. You see.
Whatever happened to we the people? And I'll tell you why it's so important. We're asking this because we the people is an indication that the government is for the people, right? But it sure hasn't seemed that way, at least in my lifetime. It seems like we're just working for the government and the government's not working for us. What's up with that?
If something is positive inducted, but we'll come back to title in a second, because where is woman in the law? The word.
I don't know.
Well, that's a title. Man.
Okay.
Where is man in a document?
Constitution, maybe?
Well, it used to be. It's not.
Okay, person.
Is there a reason why man, a word like that, is not in a lawful document?
I didn't even know that.
No, but I see a woman, that's our species. You're not a kangaroo, right? But if you're talking to kangaroos and a kangaroo,
okay,
wouldn't you want to mention that you're talking to a kangaroo? Why would you want to call, if it was a female kangaroo, a daughter of a purr instead? And they have to agree to that. Okay. Suddenly. Or I said, because I'm Catholic, I'm going to use the word a man of hue, a colour.
I think talking
a colour man, isn't that a state of mind? Yes, it is. It refers to a state of mind. So that couldn't be, a state of mind couldn't be your tool that ties you to what your property is.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And so, for instance, if we have left the word woman out of law.
Okay.
Why? Is that a reason?
Because women cannot be prosecuted.
Well, there were all kinds of things that was something sort of a privilege, but was it that she was always treated as an infant?
I hope not.
Well, that's the reason why people saw that as not being very egalitarian, because you've got things that if you swap that round, you couldn't do it to the other gender. Obviously, something is really rigged, right?
You got that right.
Well,
so
okay,
you can say that again.
We the people, do we work because we have clarity? That's the first thing.
No, we do not have clarity. We work because it's just the way we were raised and brought up, and part of the system we're in.
If we the people, we've got, I think Americans generally are really pretty intelligent. These ideas that I have, I've got from most all of everyone in America.
Ooh.
And I'm just only giving you what's
American.
Ideas which
You're giving me what's
given me,
American.
which is pretty popular. But first, of course, everybody's bothered. It really bothers them. A tipping point has occurred more where they're just fed up because you can't find the verb is.
Well, I can. I'll tell you where I use it. The government is burdening the citizens.
Yes, but you see, but where do you
beyond
find
belief.
is in a document? Why can't you find is in a legal document?
I bet I can find it.
Okay, well, you search. Yeah, but I doubt that you can find it too much, right?
Okay, all right.
Well,
Because it's saying what is. Like,
What is. What is.
Well, is
they're
is
pointing
very
out
powerful.
you
Is
can't-
it?
it is a powerful word.
it?
It's a powerful
Is
word.
is there a more powerful verb?
It? Or is?
Is probably the most powerful verb.
Okay.
Because you pay attention to anything that anybody said.
Well,
after they
who
said
knows.
is. Now you're paying attention. You
Bill
see,
Clinton knows the word is.
It was a good idea.
was we the people, the Crown prosecuting Bill for some condition that they knew that would be just like a decor, because in 1999, you've got the finishing up of an accord, which was all to do with banking, and who was in charge.
Yeah.
Well, the Crown had been in charge relative up to this point, because there were documents that a lot of people, really, other nations didn't go along with.
Yeah.
There were some 64 non-aligned nations relative at that accord that happened in New Jersey. But, when back then after the war they made this accord, and people just were bothered by that because they gave all their gold, which eventually you can see in history that was taken from them in the 70s, where they went off the gold standard, and suddenly that really bothered people big time, because they thought, well, gee, what's the value intrinsically of our currency, because it was something that was sort of solid more, and it was taken, you see. So nobody really agreed with that. But where's we the people if we the people, we can easily give our care, which we should, and so that's the most important thing, really. And now you've got we the people because you've got government that's we the people. Government means we the people. It's sort of a word for we the people. Is baron a word for we the people?
No.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Is king?
Hell
Please.
no.
Is king a word
No.
for we the people? Yes.
It is?
Yes. Is a man a word if it were used as we the people?
Yes.
Yes. As woman a word which we use as we the people? Yes, okay.
Right.
So what about Lord?
Yes.
Okay. So every time, and matter of fact, in the Magna Carta, every single time that you say anything that's really to do with our union, all of us, it's about our common good, it fits to the picture of we the people. So it's sort of
But it seems like it's a bunch of bullshit.
it's maybe not lawful nor legitimate, because what would be some of the things that you would imagine, like, should there be in we the people a conflicted interest, for instance?
It sure seems like it, doesn't it?
Well, no, I'm asking, right, but there isn't. Right, we wouldn't have that because it wouldn't pass. If we said Roger and Mary were interested in pharmaceuticals, an idea that they came up with was to do with what this is, but it's, where did this come from? It's sort of out to lunch, basically. And say there's an emergency, for instance, when no emergency exists whatsoever. So if no emergency exists whatsoever, and you're just sitting, but someone says, well, I've got a code here and I see that I can lie to you because we're under a state of emergency.
Oh,
and
yes.
I can see that you're a combat ant.
They use
and
it.
so I'm going to confuse you because you're an enemy because we just want to not let your claim be against the crown.
Mm-hmm. And the crown, it goes the crown, the guild, and you.
Okay, well, there's a bit of a problem when you could think there is a chain of command, but the challenge more for us is not any of that. It's yours and my sitting, not having done something, but Laura listening to what this is, and by doing things like this, you're really paying attention more. And part of all the swingers, and at least, of course, those who've some sort of tipping point has been reached for you. But if a criminal conversion, as we've just talked about, is happened, is that redacted? I'm asking, like a word is used like man, and suddenly, we don't want to use that word. Why? Well, because we're going to call you a son of a per instead.
Oh, person.
Because that means you have an orifice in our gubernation process, you see, which is us. That's not you. It's sort of like our corporation. We're running it. But we're going to use that, and we're going to come up with that. And it's a new word. You're going to be a daughter of a per, or a per daughter. And I know that's matriarchal, but you have to get used to it. When you see it in the document, you see per daughter, okay? And that means you have an orifice in the government as a utility company, as a corporation, and you're in a fiction land, la-la land, yes?
Now, let's be more specific on orifice, because a lot of people will pick the wrong one.
An office is please, but what comes into your mouth that doesn't pass your lips but comes in as nutrient,
What would it be? I don't know.
Well, it comes through
Knowledge.
other people's speech because it interacts with your mouth. Why? Because it engages the same sensory motor movement for you to interpret what somebody said. So let's just say that you've got nutrient, you've got things which you can assimilate, and this is where all these words come from, like the colon, for instance. You see, a colon, a semicolon means a pause. And do you have a feeling that all things we've said, wherever there's been a pause, things have been connected to each other?
Maybe.
Yes, exactly. But if it wasn't, would you just put full stop and cap yourself?
Sure.
And what happens when you do that? You full stop. It's like, no, I got rid of the full stop, and that's helped people with suicide. I mean, your identity, like anyone else's, it's sort of political, but there's some state us. It's the us that you've stated. And how did you us state? Well, it's got to be interpreted by people that's establishment, and it's we the people that's established, yes? And so we don't agree with someone privately coming along and giving you some title, which how can we support that? If suddenly I mix it up and I go, okay, you know what, I'm going to have nobility and a mix of that and corporation and the living people. And so this is called fascism. Why? Because the first two groups are probable, maybe don't have necessarily a central organised nervous system. A queen and a king does, but it's sort of very limited to be centralised too much, and it doesn't fit with nature whatsoever, does it? So we the people, would you say that it's ideas that we have, but if you knew, you just gather 26 people together and you can hear things, and most people, all you need to do is to hear something because it's something very logical, and you just say yay or nay, and this is you selecting. And so when this hasn't happened, that's the enemy. Because why? Well, because this is your own internal regulation as a nation right now, and if you're not internally regulated with the people where we are, yes, we will be regulated from the outside.
We are.
Nature.
We are. And a lot of that's just theater. Well, it's just theater.
Well, would you say that it's a theatre? Of course it is. Someone is just becomes a soldier because conscription exists.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, exactly. So is it a theatre which for her, she has to get used to the idea that, well, for some reason women aren't able to form groups. Yet,
Why is
when you
that?
go back to Isaiah's time, we see that when you see massive change occurred, where suddenly people said, well, they didn't want to eat the flesh of a pig anymore.
Well, they're missing out. I'm telling you. It's good stuff.
Well, one day Santa's little secret that the animals have between themselves on the farm.
What?
One of them's going to be Santa's little secret,
What?
isn't it? Yes, one of them.
Why?
So which one will be for Santa's little secret on the farm?
Yeah, I don't know what you...
If you call your son Ham, as somebody did, is that because you love chasing a bit of lamb butt?
Ham?
Yeah, I mean, you called your son Ham.
Okay.
Well, what if you called your son Egg?
I guess you're chasing chicken butt.
Well, because you love egg and you think that's divine or something. But a food you eat is truly sort of bit hedonistic, but everything is sort of like pleasure-based. Like, for instance, we all decide that we don't want to hear something, because it's the truth, but it's a little unfavourable. We don't line up behind that desk, but we love the desk, which is very favourable to us, but it's completely, false.
Oh.
Is it? Yeah? We line up behind that desk. Why? Well, because it's better for us to hear some positive illusion than a negative reality. So how does somebody put things in terms that when you have your whole truth back to yourself, is it because you had to go through things that you were missing? And is that a resource to you that you know what you could have because you focus on it as being something that was needed or necessary? And as you had this peace, harmony existed. You have a greater harmoniousness. And so wherever anybody could say something, could it be that because you interpret it more as a compliment, for instance?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Now, you said, what was that? Positive what and negative reality?
It's better to have a positive illusion, definitely, than a negative reality.
I think that's what happened in the last election.
Well, what if I say, don't see a pink elephant right now with blue polka dots running across green grass? Sorry. See, we're listening. We've got adults that have arrived. No, wait a minute. Yeah. And they have no idea about their embedded commands. Right? Or what is actually, see, the last thing said, yes, is what's primary, and everything else before it modified that, didn't it? But where did you start? Because like where someone's logical, they've got subject, object, verb, whereas people around the world, it's a way for you to be able to tell, like a gene, for instance, like the RB1 gene only have languages which has got subject, object, verb. Now, the most logical people, honest, and it's logic that you'd have subject, object, verb. This has come about from logic and people who've sort of more logic. But if you've got verb, object, subject, or you've got object, verb, subject, you've got all this mixed up, and it doesn't necessarily kind of flow from someone in a good logical order. It couldn't. But we, the people, we've got common sense. And we can just feel if something is right or not, And we don't need to have understood everything, but somebody amongst us could ask us some questions. And it's like, I think we're going to make some pretty good decisions, really. Because why? Because it's so common sense. It's not spoken. And the fourth dimension that's within ourselves is I. And this was present before you were born. And this is a set of things which really, truly is in the ether. And this is something which is etherical relative, because like what's written, what's said, these are things like the reflection in a mirror. But where did they come from? They're stored. And you and I, we have this capacity, and this is I fully. It's absolute, you see, because it wasn't born or wouldn't die. And in And so am then is your body, because it's sort of am, and sort of, it's a sound of energy slowing down. And so that's matter, what the matter is. So I am is your identity. Now you're going to be empty. You don't really have any prejudice because you don't need to. You're so open, and something is happening because you're becoming a greater clarity where you are. But certain it is, like, we could do programs to talk a bit more about the criminal conversion of title. And now, once that's gone on, you know, like the word room was removed from the bull of the buy. Well, it wasn't even put in there because why would you want to have a word like room, which means ethic? So we need to have room inside ourselves for sure, because then you've got more ethic. We can make great ethical decisions because we could have ability to have decisions made which is more consensus built, which those are the things which we enjoy. And that's the reason why when any law that got passed, like 666, yes, shameful that it would have to have, had a soaring horse technique, which was used to be able to change the gate in the way something would be vetted. And so this is criminal, you see. It's criminal for you to go behind closed doors with private people and meet with them and then represent the public. You see, that's called the McCarthy law. You can't do that. We're the people, you see. But we the people are in charge, and so these are all charges. And what's a charge? To be discharged. And what happens with that? That's money back to you and I. That's called republicing the debt. So if a kill box is set up because when you enter into some event or something, there's a box around you which has caused you to be squared out, and all you are is squared out, and you're just around a square. I mean, this is not even anything natural. It doesn't exist, you see. But if I gave you that, or I gave you clipped language, for instance, like, I said you better do this right now, and if you don't, and I'm going to talk to you like this, and it's sort of a very subtle thing, but
I wouldn't
it's
listen
adversive.
to that person. I wouldn't listen to that person.
It's exactly, no, you don't actually. And so if I just only gave a style to someone like to speak, which is going out of style, it's all of this, you're going to listen to me, and this is my song. It's like, uh-oh. Mm-hmm. It's like, uh-oh. So most people can hear that and see it. And so rap is for violence. It comes from it because it comes from the amygdala and tegmentum and engages that where anyone listens. But if that's an asymmetric war tactic that's done on you, and I just give you something to do and everybody sees you now in a certain way, is that okay? I don't think so. I think these are things which we, the people, wouldn't have for ourselves. Like, for instance, women, what the reason is why their voice is so marginalised. What would you say about that, Savvy?
Oh, I mean, you're making great points on everything, and yeah, I'm just listening right now, but you're making really good.
Did you know that it's pre-authorised and it's pre-ordered, you see, where logic doesn't fit and common sense doesn't? I'm sorry, but it's pre-authorised. You're authorised even before you were born, you see. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you were born, well, you didn't know anything, right? Okay. But now you're a man or a woman, and you look back and you think, now, wait a minute. I don't think that's right, what happened.
Well,
you mean this criminal organisation, they killed Galileo. He's my favourite man. He put things right. And this is the same organisation, and did anybody go to jail for that? Why not? Well, the organisation, it's criminal. They killed that woman. They strung her up or something, you see?
Well, back
or
in
the
those
little
days,
girl.
Back in those days, they got away with a lot of shit.
Well,
stuff.
Treason is against we the people. I mean, like, maybe we need to get into at some point. There's so many topics here, like Beast Barrack. That's a good topic.
I think what we need to
But
do,
eye awareness is too.
we the people does not feel like we the people. It just seems like we're being overran by our own government, and they need to. I think we need to shift more power to the people, and I think by doing that is to allow the people to vote from home, on the internet, on their computer, or on their phone. Just vote on
Verified.
everything. Yeah, and if Congress passes something, it does not get passed.
No, it didn't get passed.
The people voted in.
No, it didn't get. It was not to do with that. It was straight up to do with your vote. Sorry, it was straight to do with your vote in the home. There was no reason for us to have a parliament.
You're thinking the wrong thing.
The parliament is inside ourselves.
From now on, if Congress passes something, if once they pass it, it shouldn't be, okay, Congress passed it, that's it. No, it should go to a vote to the citizens on their phones, and then if we pass it, it's like, okay.
So you'd be happy of aggressive con, right? That's one thing. Also, swans, they definitely need, they need a parliament. Oh, yeah. So, well, we might grow up because, like, in our own thinking, the value exists, of course, like what you're saying, which is sort of a voice is. But a voice may not be aggressive or con, certainly not. And what the reason is for that, where you've decentralised it, like I just said. What's the reason why all of a sudden some third party, fourth party, fifth party, sixth party, not even to do with anything about you, why would you want to have that there when it's not customer-based at all? It's service-based. You see, that's wrong. You don't need to have that anymore. Because why? Because you've got a great capacity, which we always have had. A republic existed for 600 years. It's like an example of a group of people, like Six Nations, which came together here in Turtle Island. And we have the Toltec, which means comes from the city. How come we don't know we come from the city? I think that these shows that we do could really be helpful, because to have freedom, you have to have liberty. You have to have a proper cup of tea. And that's to have liberty. So in liberty, we would all be equal to each other. And do you think that women's voices are marginalised?
Yes. No.
Okay. If you ask a white woman if she's read a book lately, no, she hasn't.
Okay. Why?
Well, it's just things that's going on. But you'd think that if some depth more could be, right? Could you say a dumbing downness has existed a bit?
That's for everybody. That's what they're doing to everybody.
Mate. Exactly, mate. So, that's criminal of itself, because
I think so.
Something has gone on where could we pay attention to these things? I think there should be an equal responsibilities act for sure. And this is to do with your tie tool, right? Outright. Because this is your tool to have a tie. And it's your tool to tie to have proper cup of tea, and it's your proper cup of tea to lift your own arm. Is that right? Yes, it is. It's not some other man to lift your arm. Could you? But you make something like
our
your
government
children.
is going
We wouldn't
in the
agree
direction
that another man has a right to take that as his property.
Our government wants to lift our arm for us.
Well, it's your property for your child to have good feelings for themselves, and that's your property. You see. To protect until this child can for themselves. It's an amazing thing that if we really have, as we have freedom, of course, we really have liberty, and to be free and to have happiness, liberty is to be. So would you say that you're equal to the two men who run the Great Council, for instance?
No, but I would love to be on the Great Council. I think I'd do really well at it. And if they're looking, I'm applying to be on the Great Council.
Well, did you know that job's not open to everybody?
I know, but I feel special.
Yeah, but okay, do you want to get a job which is not available to everybody?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
what
but so-
that's what pays.
Okay, but that's an office for rent. The office itself is for rent, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, but people around the world that are grafted, like that are in the law, they've got a bit of a mixed up. It's okay for me to make money from something because they really are breaking rules, right? But like most of us don't, but some of us do. What happened to those that are breaking rules? What happened to them as kids?
But they,
I don't know. They got in trouble.
No, something happened. Barbie, for instance, what's the symbol of Barbie and who put Barbie together sort of, and what's the moral value that's behind a story, for instance, or symbols that someone's given, but let's say at Hanukkah or Christmas or what somebody does, Ramadan, but that there's things that we celebrate and we give gifts. Well, Christmas is a good example. Got to focus on that just for a second. And Hanukkah, you give gifts and everything. And she gets Barbie.
Barbie.
And he gets something like Ken.
Ken.
And his toy that's close to Ken would be maybe the dungeon, because he just wants to, get that game, Dungeon. All right. And so Dungeon was given to him for Christ Mass, and Barbie was given to her. So you got Dungeon. What do you think about that?
You talking about
empty.
Dungeons and Dragons?
Dungeon was you have to go down the basement and you've got to can choose weapons and choose your character that you're going to kill, sort of thing.
Oh, dang.
And then going downstairs into the basement.
All right. Wow.
And it's sort of called basement or dungeon sort of thing. And that's your game. You love it. It's the one that all the boys want.
Okay.
And Barbie is really that she wants Barbie in some point. Yeah, this is the thing you want.
Sure.
And so Barbie's being done. Who did that?
I didn't get interested in Barbie till puberty.
Yeah, but Ken was there. You didn't bother with Barbie or Ken? You think?
No, I didn't
the
bother
girls-
with Ken.
Well, the girls didn't play with you. You didn't have to play Barbie or Ken. No, of course not.
Of course not.
Did they play? Well, but anyway, so stories which we take aboard ourselves could have something within it. Like I'm sure a story is for everybody there, and it could be a song or something, but a fairy tale. What could somebody remember? But like most girls, they remember Cinderella.
Yes.
And something about that story is that you're going to be given something, but it's an external sort of a thing, and the way you look, basically.
Do you know that every girl that seen the movie Cinderella has a Cinderella complex?
Well, could we just say only that complexes could be existed, which is something idiosyncratic about you as or the way that I consider to be as a group, or groupthink itself, and how does that groupthink affect the words that I use or accepted by people that hear that? But like a lot of groupthink is, and or could you say a lot of subjects are, for her, which he doesn't really talk about those much.
Well, the stepsisters were group thinking.
Yeah.
That was the group thinking.
But what about Bambi? Because that was done to Generation X.
I still don't know if Bambi was a boy or a girl. I really
Okay, so
don't.
well, do you think that's a problem for you, and that's the reason why you kind of maybe, well, I'm not sure you...
Is that why I don't know if I'm a boy or a girl? Is that
Well, no, but like, did you identify with Bambi?
it's been so long since I saw the movie.
But no, but still, you're a man now, it doesn't matter. Just
I am a
imagine, you're a boy, you back then.
Yeah.
Did you identify with Bambi, yes or no? No?
Sure, why not?
Well, did you? I mean, I'm not sure.
I mean, Bambi was the star of the movie, and I'm the star of the movie.
Okay,
So.
I think most of us, we do identify with Bambi. But then sort of Bambi, she can think this is Bambi, he thinks this is Bambi. Well, okay, it just allows people to be able to consider something for themselves, which they do. How good is that? But then something might be a little bit about that itself as a character, because could be preparing you for, well, why not? Because you've got 4 genders, not 2, missionary style stuff and what have you. It would be sacrilegious for her to have expression of anything unless it was done missionary style. And how boring might that be for him, he thinks to himself, or both her too. But it's just, how does somebody get into the bedroom and kind of get into your head about expression of things? Like, I was wondering, is a nun in your head savvy?
Yes.
No, well, but if a nun is in your head, like, what does that mean? Is that like the Virgin Mother? She's
like, yeah.
special.
Yes.
What? Did you ever hear it said, "Don't open your"? They would say legs, of course, but
really?
No, they're talking to themselves.
But I don't like to talk. You know,
unless it's for money.
Did I ever hear that?
What the hell?
I mean,
what is going on? Here's the deal.
No, okay, so hold on. We're asking Savvy, but like, didn't she ever actually have to be asked to be marrying up?
I know.
Well, you know, you were told to marry down.
No.
MT, you were told to marry down. You have to look after somebody. No?
I'm just saying that I think marrying down's very good. But,
would you say that people are confused today?
I think what's most important
because
is
they didn't get a solid model or something. I'm not sure.
Financially, I think it should work, you know. But here's the deal. I got a problem with Cinderella. How come
you got beef with her?
She lost her slipper, right? And yet the next day the slipper fits. Wouldn't her ankle be swollen for, you know, kind of twisting her ankle on the down the steps? And how could her ankle fit in the how could her foot fit in the slipper with the swollen ankle?
Was it just the next day?
I think it was. Okay, so one thing is first, other variables are not allowed in the story because a game is being played, and that the game that's played basically is sort of how will we interpret this? But of course, she does interpret it as like, well, I'm going to be given something, or she, my sister, is because I won't, and she's going to because we have a thing that fits, and if it doesn't fit, it's like, this is going to be really not right. So Melippi is something where she will stretch her pee-pee more so that she's got more pee-pee there. But like because where she's young...
That's where I draw the line.
No, well, hold on. Because where she's young, for instance, nothing is formed at all, and only older women start to have something form more, and her clitoris grows and these things. So if she's not happy with things because she looks down there, she goes, what's there? It doesn't seem like anything. I mean, all kinds of things go on where she wouldn't be given a pee-pee, for instance, as a doll, or she could never see a pee-pee, her pee-pee in public like you could see David, for instance.
What?
Or an angel only has got a pee-pee, and if otherwise it's a boy, it's sort of not a girl. I mean, there's so many things which is sexist, you'd agree.
But
it's a criminal conversion first to convert title or to have stories which are taught to children, which really isn't sort of Confucius-like. I mean, but it could be. But if you put Confucius in there, then you're going to hear stuff. But like, what would be a reason why people to start to make stories that really was like The Lion King, which was the very first story that was totally not really having any proper morality? Yeah? Meaning
for one, I won't date a woman that has a pee-pee.
Well, yes, of course, but she does have a pee-pee.
You can call me what you want. I don't care.
But anyway, yeah, that's right. So basically what's sexual to you is something that's inside you. That's not, yeah. Well, of course, because
it's inside something.
Well, maybe not interesting to others per se, like her. But it could be because when Sex in America was done, it was only that she was looking back at her own self, and he was looking at her too. And where was his pee-pee in the picture?
Exactly.
It wasn't get ticked by her or him, basically. But it does, of course.
Yeah.
It's just like an order of import or something. But wouldn't you think that the way some order of import is, like, for instance, like people didn't wear pants, a long time ago.
Really?
Well, yeah, they didn't wear pants. They only wore capes. And so if you took your cape off, it was, because that was really sensual to people.
Whoa.
But, you know, your people by of itself, like, you know, something engaged, involved where this is. But what would really turn you on would be things that was forbidden. And it was forbidden to see people's shoulders, sort of thing, kind of, yeah. But they had a protocol, more or less, the way they were, and their nakedness relative, which people do. But if you didn't have any protocol or nothing, you'd be a bit gangly. You wouldn't even know what to do. But would you have a feeling that a lot of priests and politicians and spiritual people, they're really immature because they're in, would I ask you, do you think these people are embarrassed with their nakedness?
Sure, why not?
Would you think that's savvy?
I'm not embarrassed with mine, but...
No, I'm asking you,
Yes.
if a spiritual person,
Yeah.
please trust me,
Yes.
I know you focus on yourself, but like, well, it's okay. But like, you know, do you think most people, like the spiritual leader, is
Right.
embarrassed with their nakedness?
Yes.
Sure, but
Okay.
it's just
Yeah.
because, you know,
They're maybe a little more modest.
yeah. I think more and more people
some degree of
are.
modesty, everybody would agree.
Well,
that's
yes.
More and more
that's
people
useful,
are
relative,
becoming,
of course, but-
you know, cool with it, their sexuality,
but-
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay, but is
I guess,
intimacy
Intimacy.
with the subject, because you didn't have a boundary about that, and so you learned everything about, you know, the soil, for instance, and you became quite famous because you did it, and then people knocked on your door because you really learned a lot about soil. You learned everything so much, you became so intelligent that you knew everything spiritual. You knew that people had to spill their seed. That's right, because if you don't, well, that's wrong, because that's a parable about these things. You knew that you would make sure that things went onto fertile soil, so something gets passed on and things. But if titles that you're given in these stories of nobility, right, you've have to accept, but we don't, because, like, how can somebody be given a title, and what is that, you see? But at some point, there's things that we can talk about. But what's really the state of actingness, you know, where anyone is, where we the people is. But if you knew, of course, well, 26 people come together, they talk about what should be, and they form public policy, and they assist cause things to change because they're the ones who actually did this, versus corporation that had a big money, and then they whispered in senior executives' ear.
That's right.
And that's how something happened there. But then where did it happen for us, you see?
It never happens for us.
Well, it should. No, it should, because it actually, well, it hasn't, but it wisely would and should.
It needs to.
Because this is the new reset. And it's Article 3 and Article 4 court, because people could learn a bit more about this. But you've got really an enlightened journey, certainly, and you know that all of us, that shows a bit about, like, we the people, policy that can have overridden fully some positive good, for sure, policy of fixing that none of us would have agreed to, like negative economic inductance. But
I think
like
we
you're
just went
pointing out,
through
a proper
that. We're
chain of
going through
command
that right now.
is
Sure.
a proper chain of command is, and we care that we the people are getting what we could feel, because these are ideas which I'm just sharing with you. I've got from Americans and people all over the world. Fiction, as it is foreclosed to have any parity with what's real and living, and everybody would agree with that. But fiction connect with fiction, like, but it cannot connect with the living. And the living cannot connect with the dead. So fiction, what's fiction, cannot be connected with. That's what I'm just saying. So what's a corporation? Doesn't have a central organised nervous system. That's going to be pretty bad, because
I think
if
it's
it's
the
a policy
elevator shaft.
that we've had,
the elevator shaft.
of course, that's communism, isn't it? Because it's sort of really like suddenly somebody really doesn't have any title, so their right flows from, and it's been taken out, like man, woman, and it's only left in our common sense. But it's wrong. You got a kill box where words are taken out, which should be put back in, like is. And could you think that corporations just get set up by its owners to control all of us and the nation and all the national corps? One group owns outright, and each corporation really is just played off against each other like a chessboard. And do you see the chessboard? And that's often what's behind what they do. Want to let you know it's spiritual, that a game is being played.
Oh, yes. We're being played all right.
And so how was it, for instance, right, that whoever got dissociated, got controlled a bit, because somebody dissociated away from a subject, or they got distracted or interrogated or intimidated. And these sort of ways to do anything is really control freak type of behaviour where people are just responding to each other or anything that's like this. But Pol Pot, right, that's just pretty recent. That's 1975 to 1979. And everybody knows that was a genocide, the killing fields, yeah? Do you have a feeling about anything that's like that? Because, of course, you've got things going on like that. Wouldn't you say in Gaza and in certain places like Ukraine and things? Pol Pot got set up. Was he an agent? How could he have not been Agent Pol Pot? God help us, all right? Because he got protected. Everybody can see that. And he assisted murder millions of Cambodians in 1975 to 1979. That's pretty close by. Keep in mind, of course, Pol Pot really was protected and still on the payroll afterwards. I mean...
Whose payroll?
Yes. Who's paying the piper? You see, and in fact, that's what these shows are more about. We the people, we're talking about this. I mean, is it legal to do psyops on the enemy corps? People say yes, and that's what's happening to you and I here. It's okay for someone to do a psyops on you because why? Well, we need to control what you're doing because we need to sell all the security systems to the schools or something, and we're going to backdoor it to ourselves. And who's that? So that's not you and I. So most of us don't feel right about that because we just feel, hey, wait a minute, I personally feel it's wrong that we're not really getting the truth where anything is. And, suddenly somebody gets into power, they get out, and now the sort of views change. And this is sort of a little incongruent, isn't it? We care for congruency, and we would think we the people, we should have some congruency. But then we could sit above the legislative assembly of a state, which any state in the world, which we do, and we could do our role and job because you could come together, 26 of us, and then this is a sample of convenience. And this is how currency is republicked, meaning it comes back to us. This is how revenue, the venue of the land, from the land, revenue from the land, comes back to us, you see. Why? Well, because charges are, and guess what? That's currencies of account. And shouldn't currencies of account exist that could be turned into currency of exchange? Yes, it should. And what's that? That's our money. That's public money. You don't think that we the people, they spent all of our credit and these were things that were unpopular? Most Americans hate the idea that 200 wars were started. And that's only half the amount of wars that were started. In fact, that's kind of a bit of a lie because it's larger than that. Okay. Well, but like one war, that's wrong. Do you start one war and it's wrong and you still keep going? No, that's really terrible. Don't people have a right? But if it's a kill box that's set up, it's just under legal name fraud, and your birth certificate, which is really being used as the principal credit that's used and signed off on as people accommodating your name, and money is chump, of course, change, which is just a certified number that comes onto that banknote where you and I exchange as chump to be equivalent to something which only is settled in one day of the year because the currency speculated on. It's like, please, do you think that currency should be of equal value? Yes, I'd say people do. Do you think that it should have intrinsic value? Yes, most everybody does. Do you think that government should be engaged in the currency of it? Yes, they should. Why? Well, because no rules around it. How bad is that? At this moment, you've got our BC bond, which is bundled together in some groups, and you could look to see what the securities are that relate to this, you see, but a plundering of the state by the state of the state of the state, and who owns that could have made that dungeon game because something goes on there as an armed prostitute, of course, and for the girl, it's her dialogue is like, it's party time and we need to decide like what we're going to eat, what we're going to get together for dinner, and what are we going to do with the party, what are we going to wear, at these things, which is important to her and given to her, which is love's work in a way, might you say. And his work is sort of like fix-it type of thing. And these can get us into trouble a lot with each other because we could, but there's things that's common, of course. She loves it where you and I, or anyone does talk about behaviour, just loves it. And also the past, oh my God, ancient archaeology and ancient and forbidden archaeology. And these are sorts of things, which is very interesting.
Forbidden
but
archaeology.
Also to him
That's
too.
going to be another episode, forbidden archaeology.
You've got so many things that it's incredible, matter of fact. But eye awareness really is where you and I, we're more omnipresent, meaning you
I
move
am
more,
and I'm here.
Yeah, to your third person, looking over everything more. And now you're unbounded. You've got this shoreless ocean behind the back of your eyes, really.
Yeah.
And eye is beautiful. It's eternal. So you've relaxed your tummy, you know, and your shoulders are more relaxed and things.
Yeah.
And there's a sort of a flow going on, and people could even hear birds in the background because they've got more panoramic type of condition more. But something is really temporal there and temporary too. Fictional as a matter, like the reflection in a mirror, which everybody would say that's not you, of course. But in balance,
Looks like me.
I know it looks like you. Thank you said that, but it's not you. We would say that's not you.
And you know what? Is our government us? Is our government the people?
Well, we only can ever think of the word in its pure sense that it is we the people where we are, and couldn't you where you are help change some things to be better? But certain it is there's degrees of fascism, and most people in America or 5 nations where common law is, I mean, that's a reason why Taiwan doesn't want to really become part of something under code, and they hated it when they all of a sudden legalities would be existed into the way that could be just exported or imported away from their nation and home, and things that's like this, you see. So what's home to you? Of course, if you've got a zip code, it means home to you is Washington, D.C., and that is your home, you see. So is that right? Well, that's wrong. But it's wrong that you certainly didn't know that. But you have listed your home as Washington, D.C., because that is your home. Well, I don't think that may be most people's home, but if you list that, now you've got a residence, which isn't, general delivery, and so we've got to use a word there, and so that means property of the bank. Address means property of the bank. You see, residence means property of the bank.
Wow.
It means a controllable property of a bank. But a property could have an actual social security number, and you'd want to have to get rid of that. But if omnipresence is more your unbounded self, and that is we the people, and we're more shoreless behind the back of our eyes, you could hear things and actually correct things as a visitor. And these are the things that we really should do. I mean, government really is equal to control over the mind, and the only reason to government is really to protect your private property. And this is what's social, because where something is social is put, there is no selective, restrictive violations going on where it spikes the brain. It interrupts what you were thinking. And it actually has a 4 hertz cycle, which is square. It's got a shearing force, yes? And you can always predict when that comes onto your brain that it's going to be brain freeze afterward, you see? So what about 4 beat and 4 timing? Yes, the same thing. Even the Yellow Emperor, knew in that book what that you could do if you wanted to have a military beat. You had to have a 2 beat or a 4 beat, depending on the size of the person. Small people have 2 beat. That's 1 2 1 2 1 2. You see.
Really?
Taller people have 4 beat. That's 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1.
Interesting.
Well, you've got a bigger step. No, you got to march somebody, get them on the train. You can't have somebody, except for
Right,
autocraticness, get on the train. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can't have laissez-faire, like, oh, well, maybe you guys might like to get on the train. It's like, that's not going to happen. You see what I mean? So
I think I want to get off the train.
it's just, yes, exactly. So you probably want to have somebody more laissez-faire there because you're more in your style.
So how do we...
that's nice.
How do we become more we the people again with our government?
By simply collecting together by a sample of convenience and being able to hear things that people bring to you, simple, and then you just select stuff. That's it, finished. But these are things which should happen, and if you don't do it, it's like what happened? We the people didn't give our care. So at the moment, this is a way to do it, but of course, in a short moment, it's all decentralized.
And why didn't we give it our care? Because they keep distracting us with a bunch of BS, more taxes, more fees, more fines, and everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for today. But as always, we're going to have to bring it up again, talk about it some more. I'm glad you tuned in. Please remember to subscribe. And Dr. Jubb, leave us with something useful that we can put in our lives. A very simple thing to make it better.
I think we could... our show really has been about just, as we the people, stopping criminal conversion of title. Simple. And if we give back our proper ownership of a right, it is because you've got title. So bring these words back and put is into everything. And so if you live simply, yes, can others just simply live and be?
Sure, why not? Sounds beautiful. All right. There you go, folks. Live simple and be